There is a document in the Vatican archives that the Church kept hidden for 7 centuries. When it was finally found, not stolen, not leaked, but quietly discovered by a scholar with permission to look, it rewrote everything historians thought they knew about one of the most infamous acts of religious persecution in the Middle Ages. This is the story of the Knights Templar, their sudden destruction, and the Pope who secretly forgave them before burning them alive. The Knights Templar were founded in 1119 CE, less than 20 years after the First Crusade. Their original mission was simple: protect Christian pilgrims traveling to Jerusalem. 9 Knights, a headquarters in a ruined mosque built on the site of Solomon's Temple, a name that would outlast empires. Within 50 years, they had become something no religious order had ever been before. They were warriors, they were monks, and they were bankers. The Templars invented the concept of the letter of credit. A pilgrim in France could deposit his gold with the local Templar house, receive a coded document, and withdraw the equivalent amount in Jerusalem without carrying a single coin across bandit-controlled roads. This was not a side business. This was the financial infrastructure of an entire civilization. Kings borrowed from them, popes trusted them with papal funds, they financed wars, built castles, owned fleets. At their peak, the Knights Templar were the largest creditors in Europe. And they answered to no one but the Pope himself. No local bishop, no king, no emperor, only Rome. That independence made them powerful. It also made them dangerous to anyone who needed them to disappear. By 1307, the Crusades were over. Jerusalem had fallen. The Templars had lost their purpose, or at least, that was what their enemies wanted people to believe. King Philip IV of France had a problem. He was broke. Philip had spent decades in expensive wars. He had already expelled the Jews from France and seized their assets. He had debased the currency. He had taxed the clergy so aggressively that Pope Boniface VII had threatened him with excommunication. And he owed the Templars an enormous amount of money. In 1303, Philip had engineered the arrest of Pope Boniface VII, the first time a sitting pope had ever been physically seized. Boniface died in custody weeks later, reportedly from shock. Philip then maneuvered a French archbishop onto the papal throne as Clement V. The papacy, for the first time, relocated from Rome to Avignon, a city in southern France, within Philip's political reach. He now had a pope he could pressure. What he needed was a crime. On the night of October 12, 1307, sealed orders were delivered to every royal officer across France. They were not to be opened until dawn on October 13th. When the seals were broken, the orders read, "Arrest every Knight Templar in France simultaneously, take their assets, let no one escape." It was the largest coordinated mass arrest in medieval history. Roughly 2,000 knights and servants were seized in a single morning. The charges were extraordinary. The Templars, Philip's investigators claimed, had been conducting secret initiation ceremonies. New members were forced to deny Christ 3 times, to spit on the cross, to worship an idol called Baphomet, to engage in obscene acts. There was no evidence. There had been no trial. The accusations came from a single informant, a disgraced former Templar who had once been imprisoned by the order itself. But evidence was not the point. Under torture, confessions were obtained. The Inquisition was brought in. The interrogations spread across Europe, following Templar houses in England, Spain, Portugal, Italy. Some knights confessed, some recanted and were burned as relapsed heretics, some died under questioning. The Grand Master of the Order, Jacques de Molay, initially confessed, and then, in a final act of defiance, publicly recanted his confession in front of Notre Dame Cathedral in 1314. He was burned at the stake that same day. According to legend, from the flames he cursed both Philip IV and Pope Clement V, prophesying that both would follow him before the year was out. Both were dead within 8 months. The Knights Templar were dissolved by papal decree at the Council of Vienne in 1312. Their assets were transferred to a rival order. Their name was erased from official church records. And the secret behind the whole affair was locked away. In 2001, a Vatican archivist named Dr. Barbara Frail was conducting research in the Vatican's secret archives, now officially called the Vatican Apostolic Archive. She was not looking for anything dramatic. She was cataloguing old documents. And she found something that had been misfiled for almost 700 years. It was a parchment, 12 pages, written in Latin, bearing the seal of Pope Clement V. It was dated August 1308, almost a year after the mass arrests. Its contents described a series of secret hearings conducted at Chinon Castle, in the Loire Valley of France, where Clement V had sent 3 papal cardinals to personally interrogate the highest-ranking Templar prisoners, including Jacques de Molay himself. The document recorded what the cardinals found. Some knights had committed minor liturgical violations, unconventional kissing ceremonies during initiation, probably borrowed from secular knightly traditions. No worship of idols, no denial of Christ in any genuine sense. The cardinals' conclusion: the Templars were guilty of irregular practices, not heresy. And so the document recorded something that history had not known for 7 centuries. Pope Clement V privately absolved the Knights Templar of heresy. He gave them back the sacraments of the Church. He restored them in private to full communion. And then, under continued pressure from Philip IV, he handed them over to be destroyed anyway. Dr. Frail published her findings in 2004 in the Journal of Medieval History. In 2007, the Vatican published a limited facsimile edition of the document, just 799 copies, under the title Processus contra Templarios. The Chinon parchment is real. It is in the Vatican archives today. It has been authenticated by multiple independent scholars. What it reveals is not a conspiracy theory. It is a historical record of institutional betrayal, documented in the handwriting of papal secretaries, preserved for 7 centuries in a filing error. The Templars were not saints. No institution that accumulates that much wealth and power over 2 centuries could be. But they were not what Philip IV said they were. The man who destroyed them was a king who owed them money and needed them gone. The Pope who let it happen had been installed by that same king and had nowhere to run. The document that proves all of this spent 700 years in the wrong folder. History does not always preserve what the powerful wanted forgotten. Sometimes it just misfiled it. If you want to go deeper, the full Chinon parchment is referenced in Dr. Barbara Frail's book The Templars and the Shroud of Christ. The Vatican's 2007 facsimile edition is titled Processus contra Templarios. These are not theories, they are receipts. Sacred shadows, history without the comfortable version. Subscribe if you want to keep looking.